welcome to another top 5 records video and the third and final video about the alternatives for the 2014 mono box, because if you look into it, there are pressings which are good alternatives and there are pressings which actually beat the mono box pressings. Now, I'm going to talk about a very interesting title, because the Magical Mystery Tour was initially in the UK not released as an album. It was released like this. A very nice looking double EP, and some people say listen to it on 45 RPM. And yeah, 45 RPM sounds nice, but it's only half of the album, so you're not going to experience the album as a whole. Now, what I have here, it's actually the first Beatles vinyl I bought, is the first pressing of it, and that is a US pressing, first US mono pressing. Now, this doesn't sound very good. It sounds metallic, it sounds canny, like most US pressings. They just screwed up pressing it. Now, it's a very nice collector's item because it's the first time this was pressed, but if you want to listen to it in mono, then the 2014 version, which I'm holding here, is the best way to go. Am I going to advise the 2014 version? Hell no. Hell no. Because for a lot of Beatles albums, I prefer mono. For some records, it's interesting to have mono and stereo, and I try to have mono and stereo as a collector and to compare, and then you hear that the mono mostly makes more sense, because the Beatles were often there, the takes that were chosen, because there are differences between some of the audio takes they took, and often mono is the way to go. But with this album, there is no need to go with the mono, because although this might be the best sounding mono version of the album, Magical Mystery Tour only came to life for me when I found this gem. And this is online known as a very interesting audiophile pressing. It is the German Hörzelpressung. And what's going on here? Now, this is a stereo version of Magical Mystery Tour. And the Germans in the early 70s, but I've heard that all the German Hörzel pressings with this cover, there are some variants over here, but with this cover, sound amazing. It is one of the silent secret audiophile pressings. As a matter of fact, this German pressing is so good, it is one of the best sounding versions of anything of the Beatles. When you put this album on, this Hörzel version, the 70s Hörzel version, you're gonna hear Magical Mystery Tour like never before. And I mean, I've always thought, why doesn't this album come to life? I mean, there are songs like, well, the opening song, The Magical Mystery Tour, is an awesome song. The Fool on the Hill, I love that song. I Am the Walrus, Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, All You Need Is Love. All these great, awesome, beautiful Beatles songs are on here, and somehow it never came to life. Well, I only listened to it on the mono version, and the mono version, it's just not that good. And this one, this is Audiophile Beauty. Never meant or released on our Audiophile label. Hörzel was not a very important or special label in the 70s, but they just did the most incredible job in pressing this album. If you come across one, buy it. As a matter of fact, if I come across one, I just immediately buy it. I found this one for about 15 euros in Rotterdam. Now, this album goes online for about 70 or 80 euros. But you can find them for less money, because not everybody knows that this is one of the most amazing sounding Beatles versions of all time. So, please use this advice carefully and buy this album. It's amazing. Next case. Also a very interesting case, because we're going to talk about the White Album. And the White Album is quite something. It is my favorite Beatles album. I started off, the first version of it, which I bought, was this version. This is a 1976 Swedish pressing. This is near mint, and it sounds awesome. And the first time I heard it, it felt like the first time I listened to the White Album well, as the first time I listened to the White Album. This is a very good pressing. It's a good pressing. There are some more pressings which are often advised, and I advise them as well, as good alternatives. Because what I have here is a, they all look white, and I'm just holding that. The first German pressing is very good. I have a first Dutch pressing, which is also very good. Both are stereo though. Sound pretty awesome. Now my absolute favorite version of the White Album is, it's this one. And this is a first UK stereo version. I found it last summer in London. I love it, I love it, I love it. I've never heard the album as good as this. Although the German and the Dutch are pretty good alternatives, I really prefer the stereo one of this. Now there are some people who go and recommend this one, the box set, the 2018 box set, and they have remastered and altered and remixed, basically remixed it to such a degree that nothing of the original feeling remains. I do love this box though, because it has the Escher demos, and these demos are really awesome because you hear the way the record started. So this box is interesting, but just the 2018 version, I'd say no go. Now, some of you might think this is not an answer to the question, because you're giving a stereo alternative to the mono 2014 version. And the White Album, it's hard to find in mono. I mean, the 2014 version, I'm holding it here, it's actually the only mono version I have ever found. I've been looking for a UK mono pressing for a long time, but I could not find it under £250. And I find £250 too much. Are there any alternatives? Not really. Not really. Yet, when we're talking about the White Album, I can't bluntly say, like I could with Sgt. Pepper's or other albums, go for mono. Mono is always best. I think the mono version of this sounds interesting, and there are really differences between these takes. But the Beatles took about as much time mixing the mono version as the stereo version. So basically, it's to everyone in person to find out which version they prefer. And I prefer stereo. I mean, this album has, the stereo mix has such a dynamic range, the cuts of the songs, I just prefer the stereo version. Yet, audio quality always has an element of personal taste and personal preferences. It's even bigger with this album. So if you find a mono White Album, go ahead, buy it. Don't spend too much money, but buy it, because the 2014 version, which is also very expensive, there are not a lot of alternatives. Yet, don't stare yourself blindly to it, because I rarely listen to the mono version. I always listen to the first UK stereo. And the UK stereo has great alternatives, like the first Dutch, like the first German. There is this direct metal mastering pressing, which gets a lot of good reviews. And there is also a version on white vinyl, which also gets a lot of good reviews. Mostly the discussion in regard to the White Album are about these stereo pressings sounding the best. So there you have it. Now, I could end the video here because the box only has the mono versions, but I thought, you know what, let's just go the extra mile and also discuss what are the best pressings for Abbey Road and Let It Be. And this is interesting because I have compared several versions of, several UK pressings. I don't know whether they are from different factories, but there are differences in labels, yet they count as first pressings. And I've compared them to the 2019 version, which I have here. And the 2019 version is actually, of these remixes, remasters, a pretty good sounding version. It even sounds better than the 70s version. I have a Dutch 70s version with British lacquers over here. And the 2019 version beats that. And these are Dutch vinyl, UK stampers. So that is quite a challenge. The 2019 version is a very good way to listen to Abbey Road. Yet, these first British pressings, just beats them. The album sounds so clear, has so much detail. It is one of the best sounding Beatles albums. It is also one of the most amazing Beatles albums. I really, really love it. If you can find a UK original, buy it, you'll be happy. But the 2019 version, it's all around. It's a very good way to listen to the album. Now, in regards to the recent remasters, here is the Let It Be box from last year. And for all the outtakes, demos, and all the extras, this box is very fun to have. It's a nice addition to the collection. If you want to have All by the Beatles, go ahead, buy this box. If you want to listen to Let It Be in the best way possible, please stay away from this box, because it is not as good as the 2019 version. Now, Let It Be is very tough territory in this regard, because I have been looking around to try and find a good version of this. It started off with this one, a Dutch pressing, first Dutch pressing, even with the red apple on there. It sucks. Worthless. I just cannot enjoy the album. It sounds muddy. It sounds like it's recorded in a can. It's terrible. So what did I do? I found this, a first American pressing. Again, red label by the early version. So I thought, God, good. I have an American, nice thick cover. Must be better than a Dutch pressing. Again, first American pressing, worthless. Sounds nothing like you want to listen to it. The only way, in my opinion, to listen to Let It Be is the first UK. Again, Red Apple. First UK. This is the best this album sounds. Other versions, I just cannot enjoy it. I don't think it's one of the best Beatles albums as well. I just cannot enjoy it. There is, however, a version of Let It Be which I prefer above this one. But it's not the original album. It's this, the Let It Be Naked. These are the versions mixed by Paul McCartney himself in 2003, because he just was not happy with the way Phil Spector did a production on it. Because this album should have been a band together, just 4-5 guys. No orchestras, no wall of sound. And this version, much better track list. In so many ways is this the album they actually were after. Especially when you listen to, when you watch the Get Back movie, this is the way Let It Be should have been. This is my preferred version. If you come across one, buy it. And the vinyl is very expensive. And just go after the CD, because you do not want to miss out on Let It Be Naked. Now, this was the final video in the quest for best Beatles pressings. You might say that's a bit long. I mean, in total, it's about half an hour about Beatles pressings. But trust me, it took me days and days and days to find out which the best pressings were and what the best pressings are. If you have any comments, if you have any, if you found some beautiful pressings, something that you've compared to an original, something that's really stellar sounding, please leave a comment below, because any information I'm going to gather from you guys, I might just make a revisited version and talk about extras, other ways of finding the Beatles the best way possible. So we are not just relying on scalpers who ask loads of money for the mono box. See you in another video.